Okay, um, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I see one veteran of my last session, Timothy, is here. The rest, I don't believe were in my previous session, so welcome. This is being recorded, so folks can go back and replay. Can everybody see my opening slide? Is that coming through?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is what we're going to cover here this afternoon. This was advertised as 6 tools. I lied. It's actually 5 tools. And of those 5 tools, I'm going to spend the majority of my time on 3 of them. Facebook fundraising, matching and volunteer hour grants, and wheels and wings. The reason I'm going to do that is because the ones on the top, these 3 on the top, are sort of our newest tools and resources that are available to everybody. As Timothy will tell you from my last session, I'm a big fan of relatively low overhead fundraising, things that don't consume a lot of time for squadron commanders or finance committees or even for parents. I can't tell from the screen how many folks here are squadron commanders. But as I said in my last session, squadron commanders are very busy. They tend to have 15 hats, and fundraising is another thing that tends to fall to squadron commanders. It's important, and a lot of squadrons will say we really need money, but they don't have that ability to sort of zero in and really focus the time and energy that's required on some of the more traditional fundraising methods. And that's why I really do want to focus on these top 3 tools, because in the scheme of things, they are among the easiest ways for a unit to raise money. So before we start, I'm going to ask folks here in this session, you need to ask yourself why you need funds. A clear objective is really going to focus your fundraising efforts. Don't go into this with just a kind of vague notion that, well, we need money, so we have money for things. That's not what you want to do. You need to have clear objectives. It might be cadet honor guard equipment. It might be flight scholarships. It might be emergency services equipment for a ground team. Whatever it is, have an objective. Have it be time bound, and know what the things are going to cost that you're raising money for. Donors will appreciate that, and it helps you to sort of focus your efforts. Read the 173-4 regulation, fundraising donations. It's the 2014 edition that's up on the website right now. There is an update underway. It is in final review. We think that's going to be out here fairly soon, and it will be updated for kind of the social media age. And there will be some new guidance in there. But for now, please do read it. There's a lot of, first of all, there's just a lot of helpful information in there to help you get started. And more to the point, there's things in there that will keep you and us out of trouble as an organization. So please don't start until you've read through the 173-4. Something I'm not going to talk a lot about in this session, but I talked about previously in my previous session. Very important before you start a fundraising effort to sit down with your folks and work on the story of your unit. This is not a history. A lot of people get wrapped around the axle about, well, we were formed in 1953. And that's important. I'm not discounting that, but your story is not a history of the unit. It's more like who you are. Who is the unit? Where does it fit in the community? What makes your unit special? I was teaching a seminar at the national conference a couple of years ago, and normally I will do a 3-hour seminar just on developing a story for a unit. And there was this one member in the back. She was awesome. She was telling me that her squadron is this tiny little squadron in Montana, and well, we don't do all those cool things you see on the CAP website because we're just this little squadron in Montana. And I asked her to tell me a little bit more about her unit, And it emerged that one of the things they do is every winter, the cattle get lost. They wander away in the snow. And every year, her unit was involved in helping to find lost cattle. And she laughed. She thought, well, that's kind of stupid. No, it's not stupid. That's unique. It's a great part of who you are as a unit. And it's a direct contribution to your community. It's why you're out here. And once she started to see that that was the unique story of her unit, she could understand why developing that story is so important for the fundraising. Um, Numbers, use numbers as you develop your story. Count things, count cadets, count seniors, count missions, and not just current ones. You need to say that if your squadron's been around, say for 10 years, how many cadets have you had in those 10 years, and how many have you sent off to go do things? You can then legitimately say, we have served 240 Petticoat Junction area youth with scholarships and aerospace activities and whatever it is. I'm kind of making that up, but I think you get the idea. Last, make sure you have your fundraising approvals in hand. Wing commanders must approve fundraising activities of any kind. Please don't just go marching into it without making sure that your wing commander has approved whatever it is you're going to be doing. So we're going to talk about tools. And as I said, there's 5 tools here in the presentation, and 3 of them I think are the ones I really want to focus on this afternoon. Tool number 1, a Facebook fundraising campaign. Again, we're looking for low overhead, easy ways to bring some dollars in the door. And Facebook does make this pretty easy. So the first steps in doing a Facebook campaign is make sure your wing commander approves it, and then please email us at the National Headquarters Development Team. We've made this step so easy. We used to ask for people to send us a message with certain things in it so that we could help make sure this went well, and people got confused, they didn't include the right things and whatever. So we have literally taken the guesswork out of this. If you go onto the field fundraising page, which is ghostoflairpatrol.com/fieldfr, if you go on that page and you click on the Facebook button, you will see a line that reads, email the field fundraising team regarding details of the campaign. When you click on that, because it's a link, you click on that, here's what pops up. We've written the email for you. It literally goes where it's supposed to go. It's addressed to the right place. Its subject is unit Facebook fundraising for unit blank. Just fill in your charter. It picks up who's sending the email, and it's got all the text that you need. Just fill in the blanks. Who's your campaign point of contact? The title of the campaign, when you're going to start, when you're going to end, all of that. We literally taken the guesswork out of it. So you just click on that, and it makes that nice email for you to let us know. So having done that, you then go to the CAP National Facebook page, facebook.com/CAPNHQ. I imagine that some of you already follow that page. I hope you do. So you kind of scroll down, and I'm going to go really quickly here for a second. So this is the top of the Facebook page, the CAP National Facebook page. You see here on the left side it says About. As you scroll down the page, you get to these fundraisers. You'll see fundraisers there on the left side, in the left column. So you want to click on, at the bottom of that, you'll see a button, a gray button that says Create Fundraiser. So click on that. Then it's going to take you through some steps. Who it is, it's Civil Air Patrol. How much money are you looking to raise? $300, $500, whatever it is, plug that in. Enter the date range. There'll be a space for you to enter the beginning and the end of the campaign. You have to have a beginning and an end. You cannot do these sort of open-ended campaigns. So you'll fill in that date range, and then you'll click Next. The next thing it's going to ask you is the title or the name of your campaign. Why is this a big deal? Because if you don't put it in, we don't know where the money goes. The money flows in to National from Facebook, and we need to know how to get it back out to the unit that set up the fundraiser. So here we're using Southwest Region cadet programs for Texas Wing, but it could be anybody. And you can see if you go on the Facebook page right now, there are individuals who are doing birthday fundraisers. So there's all kinds of ways to do this. Um, why are you raising money? This is where you add specific information about your local fundraiser. It's the Cadet Honor Guard equipment. It's emergency services, rescue gear, whatever it is. That's where you put that in, because when you click on that donate, or that fundraiser, you're going to be taken to a page that is a cover page, a cover photo, and a description of what this is. So you need to be able to fill that out. You're going to click next, pick a cover photo. Your cadets, your senior members, your airplane, people with airplanes, that's great. A picture of people doing something is even better, but not in uniform, um, because we cannot fundraise in uniform. There's been some confusion over the years about that. For a while, the guidance was that seniors can't be in uniform and cadets can be in uniform. The 173-4 that's coming out, we're going to be pretty clear that no uniforms. Click Create. When you click Create, your fundraiser is going to go live for the period of time that you've set it up. And the money will start showing up. There's a counter. You see the counter there that says $120 raised of 200. So you'll be able to keep track of that. When the campaign's over, you got to remove it from Facebook. And that's easy enough to do. And then you email us at the field fundraising team to request the proceeds from the campaign. You got to tell us Southwest Region, Texas 001 cadet programs, or Petticoat Junction emergency services, or Petticoat Junction ground team, whatever it was, whatever you used to create that Facebook campaign, you got to put that on there. You have to do it within 60 days of when the campaign is over. Otherwise, the money just rolls over to national, and you don't want that. You want that money to come back to you. Our finance folks are really, really good about staying on top of that, but they got to know how to connect it to the campaign, because Facebook is not good at that. It doesn't necessarily tell us. So it's a lot easier if you can tell us, yes, this was our campaign. So that's the Facebook campaign. Again, you set it up, people contribute, and then you get a check. It's pretty easy. The second tool, and I'm going to spend some time on this because I'm a huge fan of it, matching gifts and volunteer hours. Matching gifts are a tremendous resource. Matching money for volunteer hours, tremendous resource. Terribly underused in Civil Air Patrol. And when I have gone to units and watched cadets, doing car washes in the July sun for hours on end, and they walk away with $200, it makes me sad, because most of those folks, most of those cadets, their parents probably work somewhere where their company or their employer does a matching gift, and they could do $200 like that. So huge fan of this, matching and volunteer hour grants. So the first thing you want to do here, add this URL to your wing or squadron website. It's gocivilairpatrol.com/match. I'm going to show you what that is here in a second. But that is going to take you to a tool where a parent or a grandparent or a member or whoever can go in, type in their employer or the place they used to work and now they're retired, and it will tell you whether they have a matching program and how to use it. We have paid to have a database in place that people can search for those matching programs. So it's a super comprehensive database, and it's really easy to use. And you will be surprised, I think, at the number of folks with whom you have some kind of affiliation, and they match your donations or your volunteer hours. It's really terrific. 19,000 employers will match employee donations to CAP. And sometimes they'll match volunteer service hours, and a lot of times retirees. People forget about that. 2% of our membership, we estimate roughly, takes advantage of this. We think about 10% of our adult members may actually be eligible to do this. So we are truly leaving money on the table for our hardworking units. It's out there, and it's passive money. This is money that's very easy to get. And Most of the time, matches are one for one, dollar for dollar. But there are companies that will do $2 for every dollar, $3 for every dollar, even $4 for every dollar. Um, and about 78% of match eligible donors have no idea that their company has a matching gifts program. And from the company's point of view, they're trying to give this money away. Most of the time, they've signed some set of agreements that requires them to give away a certain fraction of income or a certain amount of money each year. And they're sometimes desperate to give it away because they haven't given away enough. Um, it's really important to take advantage of these things when they're out there. Um, for example, here are some of the top matching gift companies. And this is top in terms of the number of dollars given. No surprise, right? ExxonMobil, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft, GE, Coca-Cola, IBM, American Express. These are big, big companies, lots of employees. They're going to be giving away a lot of matching gifts. The volunteer hours, that's an interesting one, and a lot of people don't think about it. I mean, these are again big players: ExxonMobil, Aetna, ConocoPhillips, Dell, um, and I used to work at McGraw-Hill, which was the publisher of Aviation Week and Space Technology magazine. I was the executive editor of Aviation Week and Space Technology. I was there for 26 years, and I left in 2014 to take a different job where I'm now the CEO of a 501c3, of a nonprofit that operates nationwide. But when I was at Aviation Week and I was at McGraw-Hill, obviously I was an active CAP member and I was a squadron commander, and they had two different programs. They had a 2-for-1 match on dollars donated. And so routinely, I would just give them my receipt for my annual dues, and then they would make a contribution of twice that amount. And it was a once a year form. I filled it out. Here's my dues. Here's what I paid CAP. And McGraw-Hill would double that and send CAP a check. And that would come rolling back down to my squadron because I designated it for our squadron. So that, again, free money. I pay the dues. We get twice that back. And then the volunteer hours was even better. McGraw-Hill wanted to see at least 20 hours of volunteer time in a quarter over 3 months. Well, anyone who's been a squadron commander knows that being a squadron commander, you might spend 20 hours a week. It's a lot of time. So once a quarter, I would fill out my hours, and I easily breached the threshold. And McGraw-Hill used to support me to the tune of $500 for every quarter that I volunteered more than 20 hours. And I easily made that number. So again, just doing the things that I'm already doing, running a squadron, doing the work in CAP, I was supported to the tune of $500 a quarter. So altogether, every year for several years, my squadron got roughly $2,250 every year just from me being there. I didn't wash cars. I didn't send kids out to sell popcorn. It was just, $2,200 of free money for the squadron. That times other members of your squadron, you can see how you can fairly quickly get up to pretty decent amounts of money. Last fiscal year, $250,000, $250,000 was raised by matching gifts and volunteer hour grants from corporations to CAP. That's a huge number. But again, going back to my previous slide, only 2% of our membership's doing this. We think it could be more like 10%. So imagine what would happen if we took that $250,000 and we multiplied it. If we multiplied that by 5 and got up to those full 10%, that's a lot of money rolling back to our squadrons that could really use it. So again, this is why I say I'm a huge, huge fan of the matching gift programs because again, they're super easy to do. I encourage you to go watch this webinar. Our field fundraising team and our director, Christina Jones, who's the chief of philanthropy at CAP, she did a webinar on matching gifts and volunteer hours. It's about a half an hour. It's worth your time, and I've included the link here. I really encourage you to go watch that. The third tool that I want to talk about today is Wheels and Wings. This again is another new program that we've come up with. And it's just what it sounds like. Donate your airplane or your car or your RV or your boat or whatever it is, so that you can have those proceeds returned to your squadron or wing or however you want to do it. So I just want to go back to this for a second. You've all heard these things on the radio or on TV before, right? Sort of cars for kids and all these there are lots of charitable companies that really specialize in this kind of thing. IAA is the best one out there, and CAP partnered with IAA to develop this program. They did that so that donors can donate a car, a boat, an RV, heavy equipment, and airplanes. That's unique. All these companies out there that do this kind of thing, they've never done airplanes. And IAA was no different. They had not done airplanes before we came along. But they worked with us. They worked with Christina, and they came up with an airplane donation program, which is terrific. And we're the only ones that have that. So that's kind of neat. The way it works is the IAA works directly with the donor. This is a hands-off relationship. You don't, as a busy squadron commander, you manage nothing. You simply encourage, if you have a donor that says, "Hey, I'd like to do this," you encourage them to go to this phone line, this 888-299-8150, talk to IAA. IAA picks it up from there. The only people that are involved is national headquarters, the finance side, and your wing administrator. That's it. Assuming that the person donating their airplane agrees to the price, IAA auctions off the airplane or the car or the boat or whatever it is they want to give, the RV. 80% of the proceeds come back to the unit that the donor designated. So squadron, wing, region, whatever it is. Whole thing takes about 6 weeks, 3 to 6 weeks. But if the airplane doesn't sell, it can take longer. But again, this is not, again, I love easy money for busy squadrons. And this is an example of easy money because you don't have to do anything other than point your donor at a phone number and sit back. So they call this hotline, 888-299-8150, and IAA picks it up from there. Great program. Couple of questions that we've already gotten about this in the past. Is this a way you can donate aircraft or vehicles for us to use operationally? This is not about operational donations at all. This is strictly about taking an airplane or a car or a boat or an RV or whatever it is and getting rid of it, getting money for it, and then using that money to support the squadron or however you want to do it. And people who, the donors come to the squadron and say, "Hey, I want to do this." People start to get all wrapped around the axle. "Oh my gosh, I got to put it into ORMS. I got to get the wing commander to accept it. I got to issue a receipt." No, you don't have to do any of that. The only thing you have to remember to do is tell that donor, call that phone number, tell them it's for our unit. That's it. Everything else is out of your hands. Wing logistics has nothing to do with it. Unit commanders have nothing to do with it. Easy, easy, easy. How does the funding process work? Well, like I said, they do an auction. The donor and IAA kind of agree on sort of where they think it's going to land, in terms of the value. And if the donor agrees, they go ahead and do the auction. Once the auction's done, IAA transmits the funds to national headquarters, to our FM team. FM processes those funds and then gets them to the unit via the whole wing banker structure, via the wing administrator. So, how does national headquarters know where to send the money? Well, this is the important part. The donor tells them. It's critically important that if the donor wants to specify your squadron, they got to tell IAA your squadron and your charter number. This is who this is for. If they don't specify it, those funds are going to revert to national headquarters because the money's going to come in and it's not going to be tagged to anybody and nobody's going to know where it goes. So very important that you make sure that donor is very clear. Petticoat Junction Composite Squadron gets my donation. And national headquarters will absolutely honor that. 4 and 5, Wreaths Across America, Combined Federal Campaign. Before I was doing this job on the national headquarters development team, I was the combined federal campaign coordinator. We have another person in that role now. I have some thoughts about CFC, which I'm going to share here in a minute. But these tools are here, they're useful, but they don't satisfy my requirement for the low overhead part. So I share them because they're a part of the toolbox. They're very effective. They have raised money for units consistently. It is something you can and should do. Um, but I put this kind of in second place only because the things we just talked about were pretty easy for a typical busy squadron commander or busy unit with maybe 15, 20 people all kind of pulling in one direction. Um, these are a little harder. They require a little more effort, a little more planning, a little more sort of brute force for execution. And in the case of the combined federal campaign, there's money involved. So these are sort of my second place in the toolbox. So here's wreaths. If you go onto the field fundraising page, go to Wreaths Across America page. You'll find everything you need there to get involved. It's a very highly organized program. There's a 34-page manual that goes with it on how to participate. You have to work through a regional Wreaths Across America coordinator that's from the Wreaths Across America organization, not a CAP person. So there's a lot to this. Again, this is not a reason not to do it, but it is something you need to go in, eyes wide open, that this is a project and a process and something you're going to have to invest a lot of effort into. So make sure you've done that homework, assigned your folks, and done it early enough in the year that you can kind of execute this and make it work. So that's Wreaths Across America. All the information is there on the field fundraising page. Anything you could possibly need. So please do go look at that. So our fifth tool is the combined federal campaign. This is a process. This is a sustained process. There's a lot of deadlines. There's a lot of stuff you need to do. And I'm going to say, I am not saying that this is a reason not to do it. It has been a very good tool in the past. I know for a fact that the National Capital Wing, for example, a significant portion of their operating income every year comes from combined federal campaign donations. Combined federal campaign is how federal employees give money in the workplace to charities. And there are lots of federal employees all across the country, and they are very generous. They are very community-minded. However, the past couple of years, the combined federal campaign has gone through some huge reorganizations. One of the biggest things that's happened is that they have now set up this participation fee structure. So people have to pay to be in it. And you'll see that you need to pay $365 a year to apply. You have to pay anywhere from $15 to as much as $114 to be listed. There's paperwork that you have to complete. And then you have to spend September to January promoting your charity, meaning your squadron or your group or your wing, however you're doing it, to federal employees as a potential recipient of their pledge. So there's a lot of marketing that you need to do that. Again, not a reason not to do it, but this is not something that you're going to sit down on a Saturday, fill out a form, press enter, and the money comes rolling in. There's a process. It takes some time. Because of the changes that have happened in the combined federal campaign program, the effort to reward ratio is much different than it was even 3 years ago. Examine the program very carefully. Make sure you have a kind of candid idea about the capacity you have in your unit to take this on. Again, this is going to sound negative. It's not meant to. I was the CFC coordinator for national headquarters for a couple of years. I helped dozens of units, small ones, with maybe 7 or 8 active senior members, successfully apply for combined federal campaign funds, and they got money. So it is something that can be worth your time. But again, this is not in the easy lifting category. Um, if you are interested in getting plugged into the combined federal campaign pipeline, um, there is an excellent webinar from my successor, my friend Paul. Um, Paul is the CFC expert. He is the one who has helped to make sure that National Capital Wing has had a steady stream of combined federal campaign funds for a long time. Paul's a great guy. This webinar again on our site, but I've given you the link here as well. Um, there's a lot to it. Um, if you have the time and the inclination, it can be a good payoff. But there is definitely a lot to it. And so again, I would just urge you to kind of make sure you got your ducks in a row before you take this one on. Overall, with fundraising, don't give up. Don't give up. It's easy for folks to kind of do a one and done and kind of feel like, well, look, I can just kind of do this and oh gee, we got $100 out of the car wash. Oh well, I guess this fundraising thing is not for us. This is a process. Remember we talked at the beginning about developing your story and identifying the folks in your community who would be likely supporters. This is something you have to do all the time. Stick with it because the longer you stick with it, the more consistent you are, and the more you develop people in the community who are supporters of you, of the unit, and of what CAP does. Over time, those people will support your unit, and we will support you. There is a team of us here at the national headquarters level that is devoted to field fundraising and field development. We are here to help. If you were to email us at fieldfundraising@gocivilairpatrol.org, we can make sure that the right person gets your question, and that can be anything. It can be, I want to do this as a fundraiser, is it a good idea? Or, hey, I want help with this Facebook thing. Or, oh, I want to do a grant. We have, Major Mandel here, and you'll see on the slide, is our national grants manager. He's going to be developing tools to help people apply for grants. Anything like that at all, we are here to help, and we are happy to do it. So with that, I would like to open it up to questions and conversation. So we are here, and I am here to answer anything you might have.
So I've looked into Facebook fundraising before. Do they take a certain percentage before?
They do. They do. They take 4%.
Okay, thank you.
Have you actually done one before? Have you done a Facebook fundraiser?
No,
race?
I haven't. At my recent birthday, I just asked for donations directly to me that then I used for color guard equipment because we're in a really small community. Because I looked into it and it was hard for me to, give 4% to Facebook.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. From their point of view, they've got overhead that they have to do to collect the money and all that. And I will tell you, this is something I didn't have appreciation for when I was at Aviation Week. Only now, as the CEO of a 501c3, processing money costs money. It costs more than it really ought to. People kind of figure that, oh well, credit cards, it's just a few pennies. I pay $1.50 for every credit card transaction for someone that donates to my association. And if people write me a check, I pay $4.25 for every check. Just that's what I pay right off the top. So these guys get you coming and going. That's for sure. So I hear you. Other questions or comments from folks?
You may have discussed this earlier and I missed it, but with regards to Facebook fundraising, where do the funds go directly to Wing Banker? How is it set up so the funds actually come in?
So yeah, what happens is the money comes from Facebook to national headquarters, to the financial management side of the house. And then those funds are transmitted to the relevant wing through the wing banker program and assigned to the correct squadron. So again, this is why it's so important to make sure you send us that email in advance so that we can make sure that we track, Petticoat Junction Squadron is running a fundraiser May 1st to May 15th, and this is the name of it. Because otherwise, because really Facebook just throws a wad of money at national headquarters, and it's up to the financial management folks and the auditors to figure out, okay, well, $38 of it goes here and $250 of it goes here, and so to the extent that we can match the codes for a particular fundraiser to the unit, that's really helpful because it kind of comes over in a coded form, so that we have to be able to figure out that, oh, okay, SWRTX, yep, that's their fundraiser that raised $340. So now we know we got to get $340 sent off to Texas Wing.
And that's that 60-day request period.
Yeah, yep, that's right.
Okay.
And so I got a foot stomp that I've had a couple of folks say, oh, I thought you wanted us to wait 60 days. No. You have 60 days to get it done. So as soon as you're done, go ahead and let us know. And that way, make that request, because that way we can get those funds out. And they pay us twice a month. So there's 2 cycles. So depending on when you close it out, there may be a delay, or it may be right away. It just depends on which part of the month it falls into.
So I was to understand on your Facebook, on your fundraising and your picture of a cadet, your cadets are not to be in uniform.
That is correct. That was not the prior guidance, but it is about to be the guidance going forward.
So if they all had like matching squadron T-shirts that said Civil Air Patrol, very small, on their front chest, is that?
That's okay.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is avoid Air Force uniforms.
Okay, perfect.
We can't create the impression that the Air Force is out rattling a tin cup. That's where we get into trouble. You can be out there in your polo shirt. Cadets can have squadron T-shirts. They can even, be in, squadron T-shirt and shorts or something like that. They can be engaged in a CAP activity. They just can't look like Air Force members raising money for their activities.
So polo blue CAP shirt is okay?
Yep.
And do you take emails?
We do, yeah. Depending on the question, I may not be the right guy, because we each have different areas of responsibility. But yeah, if you want to shoot me a message, I can, at a minimum, if I can't answer it, I'll make sure we get it to the right person. So let's find the chat. I can't find a chat that I can put it in. So let's, I'll just tell you, it's JAMES dot MATHEWS, so that's 1 T, at VAWG, that's Virginia Wing, .CAP.gov. And again, the alternative is you can email fieldfundraising at gocivilairpatrol.org, and that will hit the whole team. So it looks like we have a little over 15 minutes left. Anybody have more questions or anything they'd just like to share about their experience with fundraising?
I can't remember if it was during this session or the last, but we talked about receiving cash. And is that, how do we handle cash donations? Do we just bring it directly to the Wing Finance?
Yep. Yep. We really don't want units handling cash.
Do we, any kind of documentation that we need to have with it?
That's a good idea. You want to be able to have some kind of sheet that says we collected X amount of dollars and, here it is bundled together, fives, ones, whatever it is. Put it in a bag with the checks. Make sure your wing administrator gets that. We really don't want units handling cash. Your wing administrator may tell you, okay, now that you've shown me that you have $340 in cash that you collected, go ahead and put it in your bank account and write me a check. They may tell you that. If they tell you that and there's kind of a chain of custody and some receipts and evidence and that kind of thing, that's fine. But don't take it upon yourself to put that money in your bank and then write a check for an equal amount, because you need to be able to verify the funds that were collected and then the funds that were sent back out. So always check with the wing administrator before you do any of this stuff. Does anybody else have questions or observations or anything? Okay. Well, listen, I know the session's been recorded, so if you want to go back and review any of it, I'm sure you can take a look at it. In the meantime, if you have questions, again, fieldfundraising@gocivilairpatrol.org, O-R-G, and we're happy to take questions at any time, and we're happy to help you at any time. We're happy to guide you through any of these fundraising ideas and efforts. So with that, I guess I'm going to give you back 15 minutes of your afternoon.
Thank you. That was a lot of information I needed.
Okay, good.
Appreciate it.
I'm glad that was helpful. And as I said, please reach out if you need more.